Good evening. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Peabody City Council Finance Committee meeting. Present for the committee are Councilors Gould, O'Neill, Manning Martin, Turco, and myself as chairperson. Also present this evening are Councilors Welton, Matsoulis, Charest, Sasslaw, Melville, and Rosignol. We have several items on the agenda tonight. First item, transfer of funds, CPC Riverwalk Canal Wall, in an amount of $98,868. Mr. Gingras.
Thank you. This first transfer is for partial funding of the design of the canal wall and part of the Riverwalk project. And Brendan Callahan's here if there are further questions.
Questions from the committee? Questions from other councilors? Seeing none, what is the will of the committee? Councilor Turco.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Thank you, Councilor Gould. Councilor Turco has this one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to approve the transfer of funds from account number 2700000330021 CPC Open Space for $98,868 to account 270-1811562-2021-00-0388 for $98,868 CPC Riverwalk Canal Wall. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion. On the motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on, item B, transfer of funds, CPC Healing Garden, in an amount of $90,000. Mr. Gingras.
Again, this is another CPC transfer request to create a healing garden at Brooksby Farm as a tribute to Kara Murtaugh and Judy Maniatis.
Thank you, Mr. Gingras. Questions from the committee? Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mr. Gingrich. Mike, what is the balance in the open space fund? Because it's not listed on any of these papers.
Yeah, at the time we did this, it was in a deficit, and there's a transfer down the line here for $400,000 in addition to our annual transfers that will fund these accounts. So there'll be approximately, I don't know, $500,000 or $600,000 to draw these amounts off of.
Thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion if you're ready.
Councilor, if you don't mind, I know Councilor Gould has worked closely on this one. If you wouldn't mind deferring to Councilor Gould on this one. Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Councilor Turco. I'd like to make a motion to move from account number 270-0000-33021 from CPC Open Space in the amount of $90,000 to account number 270-1811-5856-2021-00-0389 in the account CPC Healing Garden in the amount of $90,000. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Gould. On the motion? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin, Turco,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on, item C, transfer of funds, Historic Preservation Reserve Fund, $110,964. Community Housing Reserve Fund, $110,964. Open Space Reserve Fund, $110,964. Transfer of funds, Open Space Reserve Fund, $110,964. Historic Preservation Reserve Fund, $27,741. And Community Housing Reserve Fund, $27,741. Mr. Gingras.
Thank you. These are our annual set aside 10% of revenues for the open space. We do these every year as part of the requirement for the CPC.
Questions from the committee? Other councilors? Seeing none, what is the will of the committee?
Ready to
Counsel-
make a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to move from account number 270-0000-33011, which is Community Preservation Funds Unreserved, in the amount of $332,892. It's broken into three separate accounts, that being 110,964 of it is going to account number 270-0000-33022. Again, historic preservation reserve fund. Second one is from account number 270-0000-33023 in the amount of $110,964 going to Community Housing Reserve Fund. And the third being into account number 270-0000-33021, again in the amount of $110,964 going into Open Space Reserve Fund. So move, Mr. Chairman. So would you like me to do the
Yeah,
remainders and
let's take it all,
incorporate all into one?
take it all together, Council Gould, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Also, in addition, I'd like to make a motion to transfer from account number 270-0000-33011 in the amount of $166,446 from account number Community Preservation Fund Unreserved to three different accounts. First is account number 270-0000-33021 in the amount of $110,964 into Open Space Reserve Fund. Second one is going to account number 270-0000-33022 in the amount of $27,741 going into account Historic Preservation Reserve Fund. And the third is into account number 270-0000-33023 in the amount of $27,741 going into account Community Housing Reserve Fund. So move, Mr. Chairman.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Gould on the motion. Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin, Turco,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Moving on, item D, Transfer Fund, Community Preservation Act, Open Space, $400,000. Mr. Gingras.
Again, this is another request from CPC for additional funding to appropriate funds, make funds available for open space throughout the course of the year. And it's going to help fund those two prior votes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gingras. Questions from the committee? Other councilors? Seeing none, Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the transfer of funds from account 270-0000-33011 in the amount of $400,000 from Community Preservation Act unreserved fund balance to account 270-0000-33021 in the amount of $400,000 to Community Preservation Act open space. So moved.
You heard the motion from Councilor Turco. On the motion, seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin, Turco,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item E, Transfer of Funds, Community Preservation Act Administration, $10,000. Mr. Gingras.
Again, we have another CPC vote, and this is to cover administrative costs throughout the year for recording and other expenses.
Questions from the committee? Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Mr. Gingras. This is an annual request of the same amount, isn't it?
That's correct.
And why is it the same every year and it doesn't fluctuate? Why is it 10,000?
What, the way the CPC works is you set up an amount, sort of like an upset limit. We use it for recording the minutes and other expenses. And then at the end of the year, whatever the balance is gets turned back into the fund, the general unreserved account. So we generally use about 3/4 of this maybe.
Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Other councilors? Seeing none, what's the will of the committee?
I'm ready to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to transfer from account number 270-0000-33011 the amount of $10,000 from Community Preservation Act unreserved fund balance to account number 270-0000-33024 in the amount of $10,000 into account Community Preservation Act Administration. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Gould. On the motion, seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin, Turco,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item F, transfer of funds, cemetery capital improvements in an amount of $157,750. Mr. Gingras.
Thank you. The cemetery superintendent and the cemetery commission have requested various items for capital, dump truck, trimming and contracting, and several other items in the amount of $157,750.
Questions from the committee? Other councilors? Seeing none, what is the will of the Councilor Turco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the transfer of funds from cemetery sale of lots and graves, account 270-33006, in the amount of $36,750, and cemetery perpetual care, account 500-0000-32303, in the amount of $121,000, to the cemetery capital improvement fund, account 3000591058608, in the amount of $157,750. Thank you. Excuse me, I misread that.
welcome.
$157,750. So moved.
Councilors, you heard the motion from Councilor Turco. On the motion, seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin, Turco,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item G, transfer of funds, preservation Tannery 1 affordable units in an amount of $100,000. Mr. Gingras.
Thank you. This is the second part of an original transfer request that we did last year, where the CPC voted $950,000 for the Tannery apartment complex. And this is the second $100,000 for the second part of this request.
Thank you, Mr. Gingras. Questions from the committee? Other councilors? Seeing none,
Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to transfer from account number 270-0000-33023 the amount of $100,000 from Community Preservation Community Housing to account number 270-0181-5856-4-2019-00-0381 and to account number Preservation Tannery 1 affordable units in the amount of $100,000. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Councilors, you heard the motion by Councilor Gould. On the motion, seeing none, roll call.
Councilors Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin, Turco,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
You heard the motion from Councilor Turco. Roll call.
Councilors Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin, Turco,
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn. Motion carries 5-0.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.